Two cases that parallel each other were heard today. One about a neighboring building and the use of tear gas violating the tenant's civil liberties. The other stems from the federal government's use of tear gas on protesters outside Portland's ICE facility. The three judges will now decide if either case has merit.
Dickinson versus Trump.
Two parallel cases about tear gas heard Friday morning in a federal appeals courtroom in California. They center on whether tear gas violates civil liberties and if federal officers are violating First Amendment rights of protesters by using it.
The government has knowingly and repeatedly caused toxic chemicals to enter the bodies and homes of innocent people, causing them irreparable and life-altering harms.
The cases have already been heard before, with the district judge issuing an order to stopping its use. But then in March, the order was overturned by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where the three-judge panel voted 2-1, lifting the restrictions.
The court should now vacate the preliminary injunction in full. Plaintiffs have not presented anything new that would alter that conclusion.
In one lawsuit, residents of the Grays Landing apartments argue that federal officers inundated the building with chemical munitions during protests. And in the other, filed by protesters and journalists, the plaintiffs allege excessive force by federal agents outside the facility, violating their free speech rights.
There is an extensive factual record in this case where it shows repeated misuse of crowd control weapons, firing off the roofs of buildings where they have no possibility of hitting their target.
Lawyers for the government disagreed.
And I just don't think that, regardless of the opinion of whether particular acts were excessive uses of force, we're asking, was this First Amendment retaliation? And there's just no plausible evidence in this record to suggest an unwritten policy of First Amendment retaliation or to suggest subjective motivation to retaliate by law enforcement officers.
The arguments centered on case law about why the cases should be found with or without merit.
Well, the hearing lasted a little over an hour before it was adjourned. It's not clear when the three-judge panel will make their ruling. Two of the judges were appointed by President Trump, the other by former President Biden. Back to you.
Devin Haskins in the newsroom. Thanks, Devin.